Buffy Boys, your weekly, maybe, hit of Buffy Boys.
Welcome to Buffy, an episode by episode recap of the most feminist television show ever by who's better to tell you about it? Two men.
You said welcome to Buffy.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome to Buffy. This is Buffy, the audio version. I'm Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I came up with a new alternate title for the show.
Okay.
I just ate 2 huge pieces of pasta, like just spaghetti, raw, because I wanted something to nibble on. And it's just all in my mouth right now.
Great audio.
And I'm like, trying to get it out with my tongue.
Please chew on more food.
That's not the title. It was Buddies in the Vampire Lair.
That's pretty good. It's a little bit of a stretch, but like I kind of like it.
I like that it recalls the episode of Friends where it's Buffy the Vampire Lair.
Yeah, that's a very good one.
I think that was that was a great little title.
It's amazing to think there was people who were watching Buffy and Friends as it was coming out weekly. You know,
I was doing that.
It's just crazy.
Yeah,
they're also like they're both like this like syndicated show now,
and they're reasonably concurrent. So Friends starts in 1993, ends in 2003. Buffy starts in 96 and ends in 2003. Yeah, so they ended the same year.
So around the time that Angel was breaking up with Buffy, spoilers, what would have been happening in Friends?
Okay, season 9 of Friends.
Season 9?
Sorry, no, I'm totally wrong there.
Doesn't make any sense.
Let's work backwards. So season 7 is season 10, so I can't do maths. Minus 3, so... Or sorry, plus 3, so season 6. So it would have been just after... It would have been around the time that Chandler and Monica were getting married, I suppose.
Okay.
Or after they got married.
So is that why Xander's actor left to go on to Friends for that series to be Chandler, because he's Chandler?
Yeah, they're equally red and full of cocaine.
This is true. I think Chandler is ultimately a nicer person than Xander is.
Totally agree.
Which segues...
Homophobic and transphobic.
Yes. That's the right ego for
But certainly nicer than Xander, I think.
I think that segues nicely into our first Xander-centric episode.
Ugh.
That's the title of the episode.
Ugh.
In the original script, it was actually... Ugh.
Okay. So this episode is Teacher's Pet, season 1, episode 4.
And I was legitimately about to call you Buffy Moyne.
Don't say my full name on the thing.
Do you think this is the kind of thing where people don't know your surname?
Hopefully.
Just Brian, like, this is an audio medium, but like with Will and Grace, where it's like, just Brian.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's go B Moyne. How about that?
Stop. So I'm Brian. That's Joel.
Joel here speaking. On your
Joel, not Joe.
Joel, like Billy Joel.
Joel.
Or Joel McKeever, the 1993 US Olympic figure skating silver medalist.
Yeah, you often get confused with.
Frequently.
Yeah.
I was in Starbucks today, which in itself was a strange thing to do.
Why?
It was near somewhere I needed to go.
Okay.
And I ordered a coffee, and of course, rather than Joel, they labelled it for Joe, smiley face. And I was like, if I was a Joe, I think I'd be a very different person.
Yeah, I think so too. Tell me about that.
I'm just like, I'm not a Joe. You know, I'm not...
Mm.
I'm not saying I'm particularly special.
Yeah.
I'm just not a Joe.
No, I totally agree. I get Ryan sometimes.
Ryan? Really?
I used to back in the day, certainly. And I'm definitely not a Ryan. And you know what I specifically am? A Brian with a Y.
I often get that I will say Joel. And I'll say, oh, Joe. I say, oh no, Joel. Joel. Ah, Joel. It's like, no, that's not what I said. It's a very odd thing people do. Anyway, that's my name. This episode is Teacher's Pet, and Brian, would you like to tell us what happened in this episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yeah, okay. So, Xander has a dream.
Great start.
Where Buffy's there and he kills a vampire and then does a guitar solo. They're in class though, and he's drooling.
Mm-hmm.
Buffy thinks that the biology teacher is going to be mean to her, but he's actually really nice, and he thinks well of her and stuff, and then he gets killed, which happens again in another season, I think. As in a positive male role model of a teacher, like, helps Buffy, and then gets killed in the same episode. Anyway, so yeah, he gets killed. Then Cordelia finds him. He has no head. Oh, a substitute teacher comes along because he's missing. She has the most unusual accent. Cannot place it. I think it's because it's badly done. There's a vampire with metal hand. I don't remember why. Then I think Xander goes to her house and she tries to sex him and he faints and he goes downstairs and everyone's like, why did you go there, Xander? We told you not to. Whiskey, Booker, calm down.
Our cats are fighting.
They actually are. Everyone's like, why did you go there? We told you not to. She's an insect. And
oh, by the way, she's an insect.
Yeah, she's an insect. She's a praying mantis. Buffy does her homework. And then they kill the mantis.
It's pretty accurate.
Using the Claw Boy's hand as like a metal detector.
Could have stuck the landing on that one, but pretty accurate up until then.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so that's basically the plot. So if any of you have, I was going to say, if you just watched the episode, you will probably know what it was about. If any of you are familiar with Buffy, this is the praying mantis teacher episode, essentially. That's the gist of this. And this is one of Buffy's, I think, really classic bag episodes or creature feature episodes.
I don't think it rates on the bad levels, but it's certainly it's just another episode from season 1 that doesn't hit the mark.
Like, when I see, it's probably a bit of a misnomer, because when I say bad, there are episodes of Buffy which aren't worth watching, and those are probably quote unquote bag episois.
Yeah.
But this is like a classic, like, trashy episode. This is on the B-movie side of things, which is more my wheelhouse than yours. Which is why I have a lot to say about this. I'm actually very fond of this episode. But yeah, before we get into it, just to mention, through the magic of podcast time travel, you'll presumably have been hearing at the start of Startish of our episode so far, a acoustic cover of the Buffy theme song by Alex Heflin, who's a Los Angeles-based jazz mandolinist, who has done...
It's a mandoliner.
Mandoliner. I'm reading from his website because I think the correct terminology is actually mandolinist. But he's done a number of great covers of different TV and popular shows, and he's been kind enough to let us use his song for our opening theme. So
yeah, and he was on BoJack.
Yeah, he was on an actual real program.
Yeah, on Netflix now, in fairness, but like
BoJack Horseman is a good program. It was the episode where Princess Caroline goes home to her hometown.
That's in this season with the adoption stuff.
Yeah, in season 5.
Okay. Yeah.
As one of the variations on the theme song. But he's been very kind in letting us use it, and we're going to I'm going to include some information at the end of this episode about where you can find his other stuff, because you go check him out.
Yep. I think YouTube him, Google him, Twitter him.
Do the thing.
Find him on LinkedIn.
Someone was
MySpace?
LiveJournal?
LiveJournal.
Oh, Foursquare.
No. That was never even remotely a thing.
I definitely had a point where I was like, should I be on Foursquare?
I know, you asked me and I said, why do you want to be on Foursquare, Joe? And you said, oh, I don't know.
I just want to be in on the thing.
Yeah, you never are. We are not doing a great job of talking about this episode.
No, but that's what all popular podcasts.
Yeah, but they also have to say that as well. They're like, oh, we have to stop talking about stupid stuff.
Okay. Well, let me read to you from the Buffy Season 1 DVD box set booklet about this episode.
Please do.
Buffy receives an encouraging pep talk from her biology teacher, Dr. Gregory, who, sadly, turns up the next day without his head. His substitute is a sultry, sexy woman named Natalie French, who talks at length about praying mantises and has all the boys' hormones in overdrive. Buffy... Okay, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but Buffy at first suspects Claw, a vampire whose hand has been replaced by sharp implements. So that's a few things about that.
I'm going to say the thing that you're going to be most surprised at is that they name him in that little information, Claw, but they never say his name in the episode.
So there is a vampire in this episode who it's very descriptive. His hand is a claw.
Yep.
And it was because the master was displeased with him. But it's kind of unclear if the master cut his hand off or he cut his own hand off. I thought that was a bit
Yeah, they said that's penance, so it could be either way.
Yeah, exactly. So the most common thing that they called him in the episode was Fork Guy.
Yeah.
Apparently his name is Claw. He is a bizarre character, and it made me think if this was a lesser version of Buffy's probably 11 seasons would have been just her fighting various thematic vampires with weird things going on.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of really glad it wasn't that.
It's it kind of reminds me of like how you kind of get surprised after a while when things like in Slayerfest, that one of the people doing it is a vampire. You're like, oh yeah, the vampires.
Yeah, it very quickly becomes not what it's about. At one point, this Giles calls the Master our local vampire king.
Yeah,
which is not an uncommon thing in vampire mythology, but is a weird concession for the show towards like vanilla vampire mythology.
I thought so too. I thought it was a weirdly run of the mill for a Buffy episode or Buffy, or sorry, for something for Giles to say. It didn't ring true.
Definitely. And Natalie French is a very interesting character because who's a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
Because I've only realised after seeing this show for this amount of time that she is not necessarily meant to be French. And I have always thought she was meant to be French, based on, as you said, her hard to place accent.
Yep.
But, sorry, Booker, our larger cat, our more robust cat, is doing some synchronised swimming or something in the middle of the room at the moment.
You're just flopping everywhere.
Just being a big circle. But yeah, she's not meant to be French, but she is meant to be just generically sultry and sexy.
Yeah, I mean, like really. Okay, so I was like, oh, it's so weird because she's obviously a British character because French is a really specifically British surname.
Yeah.
But she very quickly has doesn't like uses all her rhotic. She doesn't like drop the rhotic at all, which would be a very, very specifically English thing to do if you're doing an English accent, unless you're from Birmingham.
Drop the rhotic is actually the name of my British / fictions.
Rhotic is if a British person or an English person says arcade, I'd say arcade because I have a rhotic. It's part of the Irish accent. It's part of the American accent and Scottish accent. I don't know. I can't remember if it's Scottish accent. Anyway, but yeah, I have no fucking idea where she's supposed to be from. I think it's just a really shitty accent, to be honest.
Yeah, it's unusual, and so basically, okay, let's get into this episode. Let's go chronologically.
Okay.
To a certain extent, because what I want to talk about, and it's because I want to talk about this opening scene, which is one of Buffy's great opening scenes, which is. You know, and we take the piss out of this season, but I have found that in these first few episodes, they do try to develop this theme of strong women and kind of in the genre and decode it.
Sure.
And deconstruct it. In the last episode, we had Amy and her mother as kind of the evil final girls, essentially. So we open with what is Xander's daydream about him rescuing Buffy from a vampire in the... I was going to say George. It is called...
The Bronze.
I'm literally... I'm not wearing the t-shirt, but you have a t-shirt that says Bronze. So he's rescuing Buffy, and she is presented as a traditional damsel in distress.
Yeah.
She's very afraid of the vampire. He's very strong.
She's wearing a red dress.
She's wearing a red dress and red lipstick, which is not a thing that Buffy would do. And this episode is like really about Xander's grossness and his kind of like male gaze. So we're really getting into that a little bit in this. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, not saying that's the only thing it's about.
No, I don't think I wasn't disagreeing.
Yeah, but this is like the first episode that isn't focusing on Buffy the characters, looking at one of the other soon to be named Scooby Gang.
So you're going to say that this episode is more about Xander than Buffy?
I think it's a Xander-centric episode.
Sure.
But I think compared to other character-centric episodes, like Buffy actually features in it quite a bit. And I think she has a good arc in this as well. But I think it puts the spotlight on Xander more definitely than I think the previous 3 episodes did.
For sure. And it establishes that that structure that Buffy does, which is, Buffy has the consistent plot, but it's usually a B plot. So Buffy will always be the backbone of the episodes, but another character will, like, to some degree, take the spotlight. Like in Willow does that in the episode I Robot You Jane, which is considered to be the worst episode of Buffy.
It's fantastic.
Except for Bad Beer is often...
Beer Bad.
Sorry.
I think that actually is.
I would consider that to be way worse. I think I Robot You Jane is good fun.
Because a really bad episode is one that's like forgettable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But Willow does that in that episode, where Willow is the essentially the main character, but it's kind of seen through, or it's on Buffy to solve the issues and save the day, etc. The opening scene was incredible. Xander fucking does a guitar solo for no reason, and I've never seen anyone make less of an effort to look like they're actually playing guitar.
And see, this is something I wanted to ask you, because if we haven't mentioned it before, you know, I'm a well-rounded individual with many skills.
Very nice.
Music or anything to do with it is not one of them. Brian has on many occasions tried to explain to me what an octave is, and I just can't get there.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell if that was actually a good solo or not, that guitar solo.
Okay, well, it's an awful solo.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a good guitar solo.
Okay, but okay. That might be like within the scope of people who believe in a guitar solo.
It wasn't a good guitar solo even then, and he there was a point where he was playing chords, and he was just using his index finger and putting it up and down and stuff, and then he just kind of wiggle his fingers around there, and that's about right. I mean, Xander doesn't know how to play guitar. I don't think
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah,
that will probably be in his dream. All he would need to do to play the guitar.
Yeah, for sure. And I can see Nicholas Brendan being I'm actually gonna. That's his name, right? Nicholas Brendan.
Sounds right.
Okay. I'm actually going to use my guitar skills in the scene and just really show I can really nail a sweet guitar lick, because that's what actors do sometimes.
Or direct.
He never directed, I don't think.
He did, but it's such a genre thing that the show runs a certain amount of time.
Oh, you know what it is? It's never... it's 100% that if a show runs a certain time, but it's mainly if the show is incredibly basic and basically runs itself.
Yeah.
That's David Schwimmer actually did become a reasonably okay director, by all accounts, but things like Grey's Anatomy, Friends as well, other shows where the actors direct, they're usually incredibly basic and they're running themselves because they have a script and you just have to get through the taping. I think, anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Last week, Joel said, before we started recording, that the cats should stay in the room because they wouldn't be that noisy.
They have flavour.
No, they don't. People talking about their cats is not an enjoyable thing. You're not God, I wonder what the cats are up to this week.
If people don't enjoy hearing people talk about cats, they will neither listen to our podcast nor be our friends.
I don't want anyone to be my friend.
Okay.
I don't want anyone to listen to our podcast.
Then, 2 for 2,
Excellent.
I'm noting that a lot of violence in Buffy, I think, happens on pool tables.
Okay.
People are often getting thrown on pool tables.
That's true.
I think someone landing on this, hey, do you want to be a real twist? What if she stabbed him with a pool cue and just stuck on that for a while,
Fair. Though, could it just be that was there in the set dressing?
Oh, no, I believe it. But I think it's something that is often there. It's a low hanging fruit.
I can think of 3 different episodes where the pool table, or 4 different episodes where the pool table is specifically used as a set piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was thinking was Buffy always makes me want to be better than I am, and I maybe think about how, I was going to say something about how this is just such a classic kind of male trope and all that kind of stuff, and then I was like, why the fuck is that a thing? Why can't his daydream be it's enough of a fantasy for her to be interested in him for one
yes
thing, but why can't he fantasize about them fighting vampires together and them both being strong and powerful? Why does she have to get more what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think it's vulnerable, but she has to be, her agency has to be taken away for him to enjoy it.
That's so true.
It's this thing we make a concession for, that's just a thing men do. There's actually no reason for him to look at it like that.
It's a very 90s trope as well, though, the idea that men have become less important in hunter-gathering kind of situations, and also the rise of women in the workplace. So I mean Xander expressing that through Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she actually needs me, is so beta male ridiculousness stuff.
Yeah, and this episode really brings that to the fore for him, because at one point when he is drugged, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, he says that he loves Buffy. Mm-hmm. No, you don't. You don't love this. You don't have enough of a relationship to love her.
It's episode 4.
Episode 4. But also, okay, we're talking about positive male role models, right? And Sandy. Dr. Gregory, which is actually a great character, and that is sad, because Dr. Gregory basically is very everyone thinks you're a felon and a fuck up, and let's make them, he says specifically, let's make them eat that permanent record.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's he's just a supportive character. And something I noticed as well is that Giles also seemed a bit taken with Miss French's well-proportioned body.
So you think that he's a virgin as well?
No, I just thought that like he was like, oh, she's like nice and attractive, and then Buffy was like, yeah, but I think she's a monster, and he's like, okay, I believe you.
Yes,
I
true.
believe you.
Yeah.
Whereas Xander specifically didn't. So she actually got to Xander before he was ever in danger.
Yep.
And he didn't believe her, the vampire slayer, and also said to Buffy, which I think makes no sense out of the context of his fantasy, said, you're just jealous that a woman is showing interest in me.
It was so
bizarre.
odd. It was so far beyond like what was actually. Yeah, I mean, though I think there's a heavy suggestion that people are acting in a specific way around her because of the pheromones.
See, that is definitely the case, but I think I have seen enough genre TV shows to know that often when they play it that way, it's that these people are charmed with a capital C.
Yeah.
And he was influenced by it, but it was as much influenced by the fact that she was like, sexy.
True.
And as a monster, let's talk about this She-Mantis.
Yeah, no, it's... Oh, God. I mean...
So just for context, if you haven't watched the episode recently, she's essentially a 7 foot tall praying mantis who acts exactly like a praying mantis, except she also can shapeshift to be a woman. And this is more problematic than it even sounds so far, because it's an episode that you can't look at for too long before it stops making sense. There's no real reason why she would continue to enact all the praying mantis behaviours at that size. Just things like, she's obviously sentient to a certain degree.
Sure.
So why does she need to pursue virgins? And stuff like that, or why, bearing in mind that like usually there's some kind of here was a hint that she was a praying mantis, or here's the segue. Nothing provoked her to talk about praying mantises so much in front of people that they figured out that she was one.
Yeah, that's a weird question about like why doesn't she decide to pursue non-virgins? And that's something that Buffy weirdly addresses like pretty consistently. It's like there's the traditional structure of things, and then there's people breaking the structure and what that represents, etc. And yeah, that just doesn't happen in this episode. If I'm being really uncharitable, I would say this like episode, if we're talking about it thematically, it's 100% just like us being kind.
Yeah, because initially...
I don't think it had themes.
No, I think it was a creature feature.
Yeah.
And I was being charitable when I started watching it, because they mentioned about how she's like, Miss French is like a strong... Actually, let's let people identify correctly. She-Mantis. She-Mantis was a powerful, badass woman. And I was like, oh, because there's again this thing of like, now the powerful woman is the monster, and she's been the villain, and she's also a hero and all this.
Yeah.
I think that is me being too generous. That's me doing that English literature thing where it's like, I'm going too deep into this particular...
For sure. But like, what's important to bear in mind there as well is that like Buffy isn't just like strong because she's strong. There were strong women previously, like the Jamie Lee Curtises of Your Halloween, stuff like that. The final girl is a trope of like strength. But the idea there is that the show has to take on the phallus specifically, or just like she has to become more masculine to become more powerful.
The final girl though is not, so you're saying not Buffy specifically, but the concept of
exactly. So I mean Ripley. Ripley, is that right? I can't remember.
You're right this time.
Ripley or Ridley, because of fucking Ridley Scott.
Ripley from the Alien franchise.
Yeah, from Alien. Cuts her hair off, becomes less maternal, becomes less feminine as she becomes more powerful. Or what's the other? Yeah, I think it's Friday the 13th has another quite similar thing about like it's like stabbing and becoming more masculine.
There is always a thing of taking the implement from the man who's attacking and stabbing him with it, and there's a lot to decode about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the idea with Buffy is always that like the woman coming along and having surprising strength or being able to do something is a bit of a trope in itself. And the reason that Buffy is great is that Buffy has depth, for one thing, and also Buffy never becomes masculine.
No,
not in a like resistive way, but just that's not who Buffy is. Buffy's a complete character who continues to exist. She doesn't change because she's powerful. Yeah,
and often when people try to write women with strength, they do, as you said, they write them as if it's a macho male dialogue. So we often have this thing of like, let's lock and low, saddle up, go fuck them up. Motherfucker, yeah. What I specifically noticed here was because like Buffy as a young teenage girl who has had a difficult life, up until this point to some degree, she was genuinely unabashedly appreciative of Dr. Gregory's faith in her, and when he dies, she cries. She cries, and she doesn't say, "I'm going to kill this thing." She just very quietly is like, "We're going to take care of this because that's what we do." But she's genuinely upset by it, and it's not an accidental choice for the show to illustrate that kind of stuff, I think.
No, I'd agree with you on that. The note I have for that is that positive affirmation makes me cry. So it was like a little bit a little bit sad about that, like, you know, because any actual positive affirmation in like school settings is so rare.
Yeah, that's incredibly true.
So it was really nice to see that.
Yeah, but I do think that like the more these things happen, the more Giles is like clearly like he's a positive male character. Like,
I'd have to agree with you. Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with you. He definitely is. I really liked Giles's side story there, where he was calling his friend back in England. That was wonderful.
I enjoyed it a lot. Dr. Ferris Carlyle, who,
oh my god,
you know why I just taken these kind of details, because he's so, again, like when you step back, like he's so casual about it. He's like, I had a friend, and he had, okay, this is wild. He had dual degrees in entomology and mythology, i.e. the history of bugs and the history of myths and folklore, which are not like two things that people do, which is obviously very specific to doing this, Yeah. And then after 2 minutes, he's like, "Oh yeah, well he met Matt," you know, which is a thing which happens like in like H.P. Lovecraft maybe, but like it's not like, even for someone like Giles, it's like that has to be kind of like unusual.
Yeah. No, of course.
And then he has a nice little side story. I was going to say side quest. A side story where he's calling back to England and like, get him out of the insane asylum and bring him to the phone.
I don't care if it's 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Life and death.
Get him a crumpet and he'll be fine.
Exactly, yeah. And then the conclusion being like, "Oh yeah, you were right about that. No, not about your mother coming back as a Pekingese, but you know, you're right."
Yeah, I often wonder how much of the humour about Giles for the contemporary audience about the fact that he's English. Probably more than I'd like.
I think that's the way it's written, but I don't think it's how Anthony Head portrays it, because Anthony Head's great.
That's true. Yeah.
And Anthony Head was the original Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror.
That is not true.
No?
Tim Curry originated that.
Oh, he did it though.
He did. No, that's 100% true. Anthony Head did portray Frankenfurter for a stretch of time.
Oh.
But it was originated by Tim Curry, who brought it to the film.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You would know better than I would.
I actually I was reading about Tim Curry the other day and specifically noted this. So if I'm wrong about this, I'm very embarrassed at this point. But like, that's fresh in my mind.
Yeah, get you. I'm not sure why I thought. Maybe he originated it in the specific. Or sorry, maybe he was the first person who did it in London. Maybe. Yeah, that's one thing. Maybe that's one.
That could be true. Yeah.
I remember I saw that factoid on, which is I think potentially one of the Buffy. What do you call those words that Buffy makes up? Buffy slang. One of the Buffy slang parts of this episode is factoid. I'm not sure if it was used much before this. Yeah. I'm actually gonna look it up. We have a book about Buffy slang here that you got from your grandmother, but it's actually a genuinely like literary book.
Yeah, it's a linguistic analysis of the neologisms or new and creative words used in Buffy, and the point being that basically Buffy
is better than Shakespeare.
Well, Buffy not unlike Shakespeare, which is a crazy thing to say, and a lot of the ways that we talk now, in some ways, were driven by Buffy, and then by shows that
reaffirmed by Buffy, certainly.
Yeah, it's succeeded. Like things like, I'm not sure if this actually is a Buffyism, but things like where you might say, "What's your schedule like tomorrow?" or "the sitch," or you know, Mr. Fork to the Forkening, that kind of thing. Sure. That kind of construction of English is actually in a huge way driven by Joss Whedon properties and how prolific they become, and obviously the things that have copied them as the years have gone on.
For sure. I think the factoid is just a word, so I'm just being dope. I think a factoid might be an abbreviation of a factoid.
Oh, yeah,
but the way she's using it is reasonably, I think.
It fits what they're trying to do, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that kind of reclamation of older usage of language as like a kind of throwback in some ways that they do sometimes. So one of the things I noted about this episode was in the opening scene in the classroom, there's a point where there's the Strangers moment. You know The Strangers? You haven't seen The Strangers.
No, but
it's a bad movie, but like basically there's like
Home Invasion.
Yeah, Home Invasion. But there's a scene where something moves in the background that was there but moves basically. There was a scene doing that in this episode.
Really?
you couldn't see it because it was too dark. There was something in the shadows moving behind the teacher, but yeah, it was just too dark for it to be clear or to be able to see properly what's happening, and it was actually just so frustrating because like that was a cool idea.
Yes, but I did specifically note that I think this is the episode in season 1 that benefits from being too dark because the effects for the She-Mantis are very questionable.
They really are. Yeah. Well, we can't tell because we can't see them properly, but I can't imagine they're good.
But the thing we see, actually, at no point do we see it clearly.
No.
But we do repeatedly see its
hands.
Its hands, and they are Doctor Who-esque. I don't say that charitably. Yeah.
Early Doctor Who-esque.
Like they're styrofoam hands, basically.
They really are.
And moving with that, like, you know, as a lifelong aficionado of science fiction, something I recognise as that kind of like cautious slowness of an extra who can't quite see where they're going. It's like an underwater kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. As Sander says, your hands are really serrated.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, one of the things when he was when he's getting seduced by her on the couch that time, one of the notes I have here is that she says, would you like to touch me with those hands? And I thought that was a very Tatiana kind of moment.
Yeah, I was thinking Tatiana from RuPaul's Drag Race as well.
Okay. And he says your hands are really serrated.
My reference for it, which I don't think would be as much of an immediate reference for you, Brian, was actually reminding me a lot of Wayne's World 2 when Garth is seducing Heather Locklear.
Okay.
Which is a bit of a pull. But
what happened to Heather Locklear?
The last thing I know that she was in... Actually, no, I think she was in something we watched recently.
Was she? I hope so. I like her a lot.
Yeah, I think she was.
She was in Scrubs, right?
No, she was a mother. She was the mother, I think, in The Big Sick.
Oh,
was that Heather Locklear?
No, that was Holly Hunt.
Holly Hunt, okay, similar names.
Helen Hunt? I can't remember which one's
Holly
which.
Hunter?
Holly Hunter, Helen Hunt, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
The football player in this episode...
Blaine
with a Y.
Yep.
Blaine Mall.
Yeah.
Who is played by an actor called Price Jackson, which also sounds like a fairly made-up name.
One of my notes is that he's definitely in his 40s in this episode.
Yes. Actually specifically looks like... Yeah, he looks like he would have been like in a Brat Pack kind of thing or something. But
yeah, he does.
At the time,
yeah, agreed. Circle of Friends or something like that from the 90s.
But he has, speaking of friends, he has a African American friend in this episode who is one of the few African American characters who would ever appear in Buffy.
Ding, ding, ding. One of whom, actually, Forrest from season 4, we saw in a TV show recently called Mom. We were surprised to see him.
Yeah, Mom, which is actually a very, very good TV show. You wouldn't think it would actually be, but it's great, yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a really good TV show. I think it does what it does really well.
I think, okay, so, you know, Mom obviously examines a lot of things about kind of alcohol abuse, about substance abuse, about broken relationships.
About Alice and Johnny's abilities to do anything.
Alice and Johnny's life amongst the normal sized people.
Yeah.
So while I get what you're saying, as a TV show, maybe it's not the best, I think the quality of the issues it actually brings to bear without being a very special episode elevates it massively.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm so cautious to call anything by that kind of Chuck-Lorre production dump.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I guess good.
Yeah.
So football guy, and there's a lot of talk in this episode about scoring chicks and virginity, and she was home for college for the summer and it was sweet on me to take her around the dirt bike track or whatever up to make out points.
Jesus.
Things to that effect. Which I think, like, again, I think that's a character that has been imported directly from this Creature Feature B movie rather than from Buffy to a certain degree. Yeah.
Blaine,
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I did like when he threatened to sue them at the end if they ever told anyone that he was a virgin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible to believe that he actually ended up being the big bag of season 6 and went on to found Wolf from Heart and Angel.
Yeah, true.
And that's like another thing. So like the way that this creature is obviously meant to be very deadly and very self-sustaining and all this. So what's the plan, She-Mantis? Like, she brings the... Oh, also, okay, so it's implied that because that's her person she's killed.
Yes, I noted that too.
Who?
Yeah, so Blaine, when he's in the basement, basically describes how she killed someone recently and laid eggs into his neck hole, is what I always presume, but it actually isn't the case. But we never see this person, so presumably there's another dead body around, because he can't have seen her kill the teacher, because he was around and kicking like out in the world after that. So it's really there's definitely like a deadened
There's a
person.
missing character,
Yeah.
But like she brings these virgin teenage boys to her house, and like the way she acts with Xander is so like, she's like, oh, talk about yourself. Oh, I'm seducing you verbally, getting you drunk. Suddenly I'm turning into a monster. And then when she kills them, where's she gonna go next? And she like it's all over the place.
She says kiss me, and I thought that was really gross.
Yeah, it was odd. And then so she imitates a 90-year-old woman who was a substitute teacher.
Oh, she was the best. The real Mrs. French. I loved her.
The real Mrs. French is in a number of things, and she's Ron Howard's mother.
Oh, I believe it.
Mother,
Yeah. She reminded me of the mother, the old one from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yes, actually, I can 100% see
Mimi? Miriam.
This lady, the real Mrs. French, who also wasn't French, is the old lady and everything around this period.
Yeah.
You know? But like specifically, the She-Mantis who has stolen her identity. So apparently this school did, okay, for one thing, they had a substitute teacher there like the next day, 2 days at most.
Yeah.
Did no background check to see this woman was born in 1907.
Yeah.
But also she went and picked a house to live. So like the story here,
They didn't just not check it, but they looked at her file to call her.
Yeah.
And didn't note that she was born in 1907.
Or else she turned up at the school with her documents that were like, you know, I heard on the telegram there was a job going.
Yeah.
You know, ready to sign up. She also went on to live. She lived in this old lady's neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like surely the story there is that she kills the old lady and takes her house. That's implausible.
How did she get the position? Like, that's a really good one.
How did she get the position? How did she get the house?
Mm-hmm.
It was all adjacent to the old lady, but they wanted to do the scene with the old lady, who does actually have a great line because Buffy, like, they knock on this woman's door, they speak to her.
They try to kick the door down, Joel.
They do. They nearly
she opens it first, which is great.
They nearly boot a woman directly in the chest.
Yeah.
And then after getting the plot information from this old woman, Buffy turns her back to her and is like, guys, we have to go. We have to find Miss French. She's around here somewhere. And this woman, in a great moment of being like, I'm actually a person who's still here, says, oh no, dear, I'm right here.
That's what I have noted too. It was such a great moment.
Yeah.
It was a great moment. Yeah, I like that a lot. One of the other things about this episode is that Angel's back and looking dreamy as heck.
He always looks like he's in some kind of soft focus or something.
Agreed. His face is just pure and smooth and baby-like, and it's beautiful. Oh, he's such a gorgeous guy.
Yeah, he does flood our basements. But
Joel,
it's true. Like,
that's not I said that. He will always be the representation of the very racist notion that someone fed me at some point, but has taken root in my brain, which is that people who are multiracial are like more beautiful because they are more symmetrical than not more symmetrical, they're more like appealing to more people, and anyway, etc. Lots of racist notions, but David Boreanaz will always be in my brain that person because I believe he's partially Native American.
Oh, I actually think that is true. Yeah.
But no, he looks great in this episode, and he takes his like leather jacket off.
He's wearing it like
great.
So the point, he takes his leather jacket off, gives it to Buffy permanently.
Yeah.
And because
she wears it all the time from this episode on.
But like I said, he has a closet of those things at home. Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
I think it was actually specifically that as a plot point in season 5 of Angel.
Of course.
When he gets rich, he literally has a closet full of those trench coats.
Oh, this isn't a trench coat though. It's nicer than
no, it's not. It's nicer than that. But yeah, he just takes off his leather jacket and he's wearing a vest, and like it's meant to be very cold out. Now we know obviously that he's, spoilers, a vampire.
What?
Xander, who's always like edging on this kind of like homophobic thing potentially, but was like, this is the first time I've seen Angel, who has a very boring rivalry with Angel as the show goes on.
He does, yeah.
And he's like, who's this guy? He's very buff. Illusions. He's clearly a very handsome man. And it's like, is this all? And it's like, you could go a direction with this, or you could construct a thesis. Like, is Xander just a repressed homosexual? But that's obviously a very homophobic theory to have.
It is, and also I don't want him in our team.
We don't need him.
You can't have him because you're homosexual, so it's fine.
No, but like, well, if he's not good enough to be homosexual, he's definitely not good enough to be bisexual.
Well, it's kind of evil, so that's the bisexual way. Yeah, the line that he has that I liked about that was he says, "He's a very attractive man. How come that never came up?" Okay, so in the next scene after the bronze, which I'm glad to see is back because it was not in the last episode, and that's something I'm noting. I'm not sure why.
Everyone's drinking Diet Cokes or Diet Mr. Pibbs.
Yeah, what are they doing there? It's like a youth club.
Is it 7 p.m? Is it 12? You know, is it?
It's actually 3 a.m. You know? But Xander wears. Oh wait, we're not talking about clothes yet, are we?
We can talk about clothes.
Okay.
Let's talk about clothes.
Bashing. So Xander is wearing a brown velvet t-shirt, which is open-necked, and not only that, he's wearing another t-shirt underneath it.
He's wearing a black t-shirt underneath it. I've noted it as velour, but velour is just a fabric I call anything that I really hate.
Yeah, fair. No, velvet and velour is pretty close. And
he also goes up and has some weird interaction with the actual guitar player on stage. He was wearing a silver satin top with a necklace that looks like a metal onion ring.
Oh my god.
And just throughout the episode, like, Xander's wearing a lot of like white, brown stripes, and like I know at one point Willow was wearing a red corduroy jacket with an orange shirt on underneath.
Love it. One thing I think we've been too kind about so far is that Xander's haircut is atrocious.
It is. It does look like the bit on the end of a root vegetable you're meant to cut off before you start peeling it.
Yeah, I think if you turn him upside down, you would puke.
Yeah, from the effort.
Well, I would certainly. Yeah, he just looks awful.
It's lank and greasy.
It's lank and greasy. It's like it's so long in the back. It's that kind of semi-mullety kind of thing back from the 90s. And like everyone else looks grand these days from that period. I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar has a little bit of a Rachel haircut, which is fine, you know. It gets much better as the show goes on. Willow actually would fit in today, that kind of like long straight hair. She'd do great. I think you could take Willow and her outfits in this whole show and transport her directly into the modern day, and she'd be considered a very fashionable young lady. Honestly.
Like, yeah, there is this, like, well, I think it's just a lot of that's coming back now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah.
I say knowing much about fashion.
Joel has a pair of red Doc Martens, and they're the only fashionable thing he owns.
They're nice. I'm wearing a Sunnydale t-shirt that's actually the same colour, so...
Oh, that's true, you're right. He's wearing the shoes right now. Yeah.
So, more about this this terrible plot.
Yeah.
So
sorry, I have a really important note, which is that when they find out that the teacher is dead, Willow and Buffy are doing their very best Angela Chase impressions.
Who the hell is that?
From My So-Called Life.
Is her name Angela Chase?
Angela Chase.
Okay.
They're leaning.
Yeah.
They're looking sad. And they're leaning. Their hair is long and they lean.
Xander is definitely thinks he's a bit of a Jordan Callahan.
He's not though.
But he's not. He's attempting that hair.
We should make another podcast after this called Our So-Called Life. It'll be our My So-Called Life podcast.
Okay, or we could go. No, that was
My So Gay Life.
But as you quite specifically pointed out, I'm not gay, bro.
Okay.
No, I was trying to think of a better name, but I think that was the best one.
Our So-Called Life. Yeah. Though I think that's a podcast already on NPR, right?
Maybe we might make one about Veronica Mars called 30 Seconds to Veronica Mars.
Oh my god, Joe. No, we can't do it. We can't do that.
This terrible episode.
I would love to do a Veronica Mars podcast. That would be my second number one choice. Especially, and that's coming back too.
Veronica Velas.
Martians.
Martians, that's good.
Veronica Martians. Veronica
might be confusing because she did.
Veronica Men. Veronica Mans. There we go.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to change one letter.
Veronica Martians might be confusing since she lives in Neptune.
Oh,
which actually like a weird thing. Okay, let's not get onto Veronica Martians.
That's probably a thing, right?
It's a whole different conversation.
One of the things we said we're going to talk about in this episode, and I'll let you get to your thing in a second, is that it is coming back. Buffy is going to be coming back in a new form at some point. And that's all we have to say about that. So let's keep going.
Yeah, it's actually the last time we'll mention it.
Yeah.
So, in terms of this terrible plot, there's this like well-known scene from this episode where Miss French turns her head around 180 degrees while Buffy's at the door, which lets Buffy figure out that she is a praying mantis, which always makes me think when these things happen is like, you know, there's a different show where that's not the monster she is, and it helps me figure out the other thing.
Yeah.
So like, what if Buffy just got it wrong? If she's a praying mantis, it turns out she's actually like a Nagini demon or something that we haven't heard of.
Sure. Well, this episode is supposed to be affirming the idea that Buffy doing her homework is a good thing.
Yeah, because Buffy's in high school. I don't know if she mentioned that before. So yeah, I always think when they have these revelations, they're like, yeah, but that could be like the revelation from a different program. You could just get it wrong, but it just means that like she just gave away the fact that she was a monster for no good reason.
No, not only did she do that, she did it in the middle of a classroom.
Yeah.
Why?
Which is something like, that's the thing I always remember from Buffy. It kind of makes no sense looking back, but something I do enjoy about it is that the end of the episode they have this like classic stinger, which is like, you know, the monster's gone but her eggs are hatching in the closet, which never comes back again.
No.
But that's a creature feature thing where like the monster always survives.
Yeah, that's very X-Files.
Yeah, but even something like, you know, it came from like the black mists of like Shigira, you know, that kind of thing.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
We also learned that in the last episode, having learned that Xander's real name is Alexander, we learned that his middle name is Lavelle.
Lavelle, yeah.
So this greasy haired monster is called Alexander Lavelle Harris.
No, the greasy monster was called... Oh, I see what you did there. Never mind.
Yeah, it was a joke, it was a bit. Cordelia Chase.
I mean, she was in it so little and she made such an impact. It was wonderful. She was in the episode, no joke, because she found the body in the freezer because she was going to get her prescribed lunches from her doctor.
Yeah.
What a queen.
Her prescribed medicated lunches, which she makes a point of saying she gets daily from her doctor, and yet found it necessary to announce this to the staff.
Yeah, so I think it's about being so exclusive that you need a prescribed lunch.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it kind of reads like you're...
sick.
Yeah. And the other part is when she's in the counsellor's office.
She says, well, what the thing I picked out that she was saying about her stressful life is that one minute you're just in your normal life, and then it's like, who is in the fridge? You know what I mean?
I'll find the note here because it actually was really funny what she said. Yeah, she's like talking about how she lost weight doing it. How she says, I'm not saying we should kill a teacher every day to lose weight.
So she can lose weight specifically.
Yeah, it was great. It was actually, there was a really weird, funny joke right before that where Principal Flutie, who we should really talk about at some point as a character because he's not going to be around for much longer.
No.
But where Principal Flutie, so he's telling Buffy that we all need to heal, we all need to go to the therapist, and you know he's like, come along, and he's pushing her and he's forcing her to go to the therapist, and at the end he just says heal, and he pushes her down, and you know what that is?
Wrong touching.
No, it's not wrong touching.
Well, he said wrong touching.
Oh,
so
sure.
Doesn't touch
well, he's telling her to heal, but he's also telling her to heal it like you do it to a dog. H-E-E-L.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. I was like, that's a two-joke thing. Two-joke in one word.
Gets a lot of comedy for someone who's only in a couple episodes.
Yeah, that actor is in different things, right?
He is. He's in loads of things. He usually has some kind of anxiety or gout or something.
Yeah. I always think he's the actor from The Critic, the cartoon.
Yes, it's not.
No, I know it's not, but I always think it's a reasonably similar guy.
Yeah, the similar vibe, yeah.
Yeah, they're both definitely had guest spots in Seinfeld.
Yes. I would also put in with those three the guy who... the critic, I think, that Monica cooks for in her apartment, who is really high.
I think that's The Critic.
I don't think it is.
Oh.
Because I think this guy has sagger eyes.
This guy's camper, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, people like the episode... Sorry, people like the TV show The Critic.
Yeah.
People like that cartoon.
I heard that before. Yeah.
Even though that episode of The Simpsons is atrocious.
Inexplicable. And inexplicable to anyone who hasn't seen The Critic, yeah.
Yeah, and though it does have a couple of good moments. Obviously, the Barney getting kicked in the balls.
It's funny. It's great content.
Wait, no. That's totally not what happened in that episode, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Barney has his Oscar-winning film, and then
Mulman gets kicked in the balls. Yeah, okay, cool. One of my questions for this episode is when they are researching. Willow says, I have a 911 call coming in.
Yeah.
Sorry, 911. 911 is a very different thing.
Yeah.
Sorry? Willow just casually gets emergency calls to her laptop? Or her
desktop specifically.
Her library public desktop.
Yeah, well, it's a short step from, in Giles' words, using a computer invasion to get into the coroner's office computer.
I don't completely take that phrase. That's a great phrase.
Yeah.
DDoSes are basically, computer invasions, yeah.
Like, Giles is probably the event horizon of the last time that people of a certain age could, not understand technology and would be charming as opposed to immensely frustrating.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. Though, I mean, he goes through the frustrating thing during this show. You know, there are various points where he's expected to be more technologically literate than he is, and it's frustrating to the people around him.
Yeah, but it's cute to the audience, where if you have a person now
True.
who can't understand the technology, they're just being difficult.
They're not only just being difficult, but they probably completely alienate complete demographic. The demographic of people who don't know what the save symbol means.
Yeah.
That it's a floppy disk. And they're like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Which I always thought was a bit like that's always a good point, but like the mic symbols, the stand microphone, people will always know what they were. Do you know?
Yeah, I think that's an iconic image. But I'm not sure about floppy disks. The floppy disks are very important to this show.
They are foreshadowing. Speaking of foreshadowing, at one point Xander says, don't you wish that sometimes the earth could just open up and swallow you whole?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the more of that will come.
It sure will. That wasn't a great little moment for him.
Speaking of Hellmouths, just as an aside, I've been getting really into the video game Destiny recently.
Destiny 2.
Destiny 2, I'm reading a lot.
I'm disappointed with him as well, don't worry.
Brian bought it for me and tricked me into playing it. I've been reading a lot about the lore behind it, and one of the main areas in Destiny is apparently a place called the Hellmouth. I was like, that is not a generic term. Like, that's not just like the Mouth of Darkness or something. Like, that's just like, that is from Buffy, yeah?
No, no, you're totally right.
And it's the same concept. Like, roughly, it's like demons coming out of this hole in the ground, I think.
Yeah. Do you have any more fashion notes, by the way? I think we didn't talk about too much. Buffy was wearing yellow pants the whole way through, which were awful.
Like, the fashion was bad, but it wasn't, like, the background fashion wasn't unusually worse, except for the things I've mentioned. It's just it always comes back to me for the fact that Buffy picked out that first vampire in the bronze because he dressed like it was the 70s, and she thought this was unusual.
Yeah.
And everyone has dressed like they're lost in a time warp.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like watching Life on Mars. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's bizarre.
In fairness, the 90s was the first time that retro became fashionable. I think, to some degree. It's a very like Foucauldian postmodern moment. No.
But that's the funny thing about Angel, because Angel as a vampire actually dresses timelessly. He's just wearing a white shirt and a black jacket. You know, that's always going to be fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I have two more points before we should probably wrap up. One is, do we take imagery from the vampire with the claw hand getting staked ultimately with a white picket fence?
Yes, there's definitely something there. For me, it was like, okay, well, they need to get out of the way actually staking someone with a stake.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of the only time that's used not as intended, but like, but yeah, there's definitely a thing of like, they lean heavily on the themes of like, Buffy's a vampire slayer struggling with the perfect life, going to high school and fighting the spawn of hell. So she has to learn her homework, and this guy gets staked in a suburban neighborhood. And also, like, you can kind of get into that a bit as well with, there's this weird park she's in which doesn't really reappear.
Sure.
And there's like, atypically for Buffy, it's like just a lot of homeless people there.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing you get in some American shows where it's like a homeless person, you know, startles someone by coming around the corner, and they're actually being harmless, but they're like blah 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 blah, and the person's like scary homeless person.
It's like a nightmare moment as well.
Yeah.
It was really odd, that moment.
And then, you know, for this obviously this park well frequented by homeless people,
And homosexuals probably
a lot of cruising for a bruising.
Yeah, cottage.
Cottage, yeah.
Cottage cheese.
Forking. Speaking of Mr. Forkhand, she's like, vampires maybe, and turns and lifts a bush out of the way, and the vampire...
What?
Yeah, so she's like,
she does, yeah.
And she moves a bush, and the vampire with the claw hand is just standing behind it.
Okay, so my contribution to this moment is that I found out while watching this that the word sewer is incredibly fucking difficult to write or type.
Oh yeah.
And it's even more difficult to type. Sorry, what's even more difficult to type is sewers. Because if you look at it on the keyboard, if you have a QWERTY keyboard, QW or TY, is SEWE or S. It has a really unnatural feel because it goes forward and then backwards. It's really odd. The other note I have is the absolute wonderful moment where Buffy goes to play her bat noises at the praying mantis, and instead what comes out is Giles' voice saying, "It's extremely important to file."
Yeah, it's very good. And
oh no, I just wish I could have heard the rest of it.
What his notes?
What is it extremely important to file? I need to know. Inquiring minds need to know.
But like my question, I had this like moment of revelation, because I was like, so the point was that back sonar fucks with praying mantises nervous systems.
Mantises? Mantis?
No one knows. It's actually it's not known.
Praying mantises is usually pretty good. Guys.
Praying mantises, mantises. It focuses on the nervous system, and so this mantis has. Like this mantis it's obviously in mantis form.
Yeah.
But like it's not evolved. I don't think it's evolved from an actual praying mantis. It's clearly a demon or a magical creature of some
Yeah,
sort.
sure.
So, and yet it's still affected by this bat stone there. So my light bulb moment was like, does this imply the existence of even larger bats?
Oh.
Proportionally larger bats
to
the size of what this She-Mantis is. Enormous bats.
So my counter to that is this is a hybrid. This is some sort of demon monster hybrid with a praying mantis, or an evolution from the praying mantis as learned on Earth. Given that this episode is a bit about evolution and biology and stuff, because it too closely resembles the praying mantis to not be related to it. So I'm guessing that like instead of it being a natural cousin of it, it is a hybrid of some sort of demon bug thing.
But and the She-Mantis in her biology moment does specifically talk about how beautiful and noble the praying mantis is and all this.
Yeah, so she definitely has like a connection to the mantis.
But I would like to see a episode where Buffy just fights an enormous bat.
Yeah, I can't think of any. I would watch those too.
And we actually didn't mention either the flashbacks.
The flashbacks throughout. I don't think this happens again, thank God, like for the most part. But there are flashbacks and they're specific to Xander, and it made me want to die.
So flashbacks to his sex dream.
Yep.
Sex daydream.
Yep.
And triggered by random moments, it was just like her touching, the She-Mantis touching his hand. At one point she's wearing a very voluptuous dress where she actually looks like Jamie Lee Curtis in the film True Lies, which you haven't seen but which our listeners will know. And he says, "You have the most beautiful chest dress I've ever seen." And like these aren't things that people actually do in real life. But he keeps flashing back to like his guitar solo, and it's just it's awkward. And then we have this like classic like creature feature thing where you see Buffy fighting the monster in the shadows cast on the wall.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say next. Yeah, that was wonderful. It was so awful. It was so clearly like they didn't want to damage the costume they had, or they couldn't show it in any great detail enough to show it getting hacked. But it's a genuine shadow theater. It's great.
And I know as well about how they talk about a lot about the virginity at the end, how embarrassing this is, and how you have in mythology things called the kleptos virgo or virgin thief, like the sirens that are Greeks, etc. And they're talking about how it's doing the right thing because like teenage boys and they should wait, and not everyone loses their virginity at this age, etc. And I was just thinking, Rupert Giles was definitely fucking his way up and down the coast of England while he was this age.
Undoubtedly. Rupert Giles was a sex machine.
Men, women, and monsters.
Yep. Though, I mean, like, so have we ever decided if Willow is certified lesbian or if she's presented as, like, to some degree bisexual?
I think...
She refers to herself as gay in season 7.
Yeah, I think there's actually... And this is something we will get into. There is a dearth of actual conversation about sexuality that aren't quips in the show. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like a question someone said this to me before, that if you see a picture of JFK when he's a baby, are you looking at the President of the United States?
Sure.
Because it's in the past, etc. Yeah.
Gotcha. And
I often think about that with sexuality because people have different identifying in different ways at different points in their life, and how retrospective is it. I think as much as I would love to say that it's a portrayal of bisexuality to some degree, I think Willow generally has come across and identified as gay. And I think
interesting. So we're gonna have to incorporate that into our portrayal, into our look at her relationship ish with Xander and then Oz. But ultimately, what we need to bear in mind here is that like then that kind of explains a little bit why she's attracted to Xander in the sense that he's a friend. She knows that she should be doing romantic things in her late teens, trying to some degree cloak the fact that she has like an internal secret, if nothing else. Or well, I mean, she probably hasn't. She doesn't seem like she's realised that.
She also doesn't realise she's a witch. Do you know what I mean? Like that's definitely part of her.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think.
I think a wish is learned.
It is learned, but like, okay. I'm not going to draw false parallels as much as this show is about paralleling these things to some degree. I think witch is definitely learned, but she has definitely a desire for these kind of things. Yeah. But generally, as the show goes on, I think it's implied that she has an innate affinity for magic or innate ability.
I'd have to agree that like the witch imagery and themes are definitely supposed to correspond to her budding lesbianism.
Yeah, well, like up until the point where like she joins like a circle of witches in college, and like that's clearly joining your gay sock.
100%. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. But I mean, like, yeah, that's how we can excuse the fact that she is enamored with Xander, this guy who is not like, you know, her level.
Yeah.
But this episode, I think, did Willow a disservice by featuring her less. I think it could have featured Willow more, and I would have been happier.
And featuring her as kind of like worrying about Xander, who kind of didn't deserve it. At
the same time, she kills her lines. So one of her lines is when Willow's standing in front of Xander and Blaine, and she says, "It's so unfair she only went after virgins."
Yeah, she's such a shitster.
She is such a shitster. It was great. I love it so much.
No, 100%. I think that like an interesting. So you know, I don't want to presume someone's experience, but Willow is fictional, so I can't ask her. You know, I think she's had bisexual. I think you could find out she had bisexual experiences, but like she identifies as gay, and I think she like. But what I think is that by like the time you get to Series 7, if you ask Willow to identify herself, I think she would say, "I'm a witch." Do you know what I mean? I think that's actually her primary identity. Like,
yeah.
Do you know, I just think it's an interesting conversation because I don't think it's her most defining.
Is her lesbianism?
It's not her most defining non-mainstream trait.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the like strengths of the show. Actually, is that I mean the tradition. I mean, we're going to discuss it to death. It'll have to be a 3-hour-long episode when we get to the body. But because the body is, for my money's worth, probably one of the top 5 episodes of TV shows.
I have a great suggestion. When we do the episode The Body,
we
have really no music in the podcast.
Ooh, well, okay, fair enough. But that is I think that's the first portrayal of a lesbian kissing scene any gay scene basically, to that degree in
network television.
Network television, exactly what I was going to say. Because I think Days of Our Lives and some other things have done some weird things like that.
Bad storylines.
Exactly.
Understanding.
But that episode handles it so beautifully. It's during a very... it's been implied for about a season that Willow and... what's her name? Tara, thank you. are, like, you know, in a relationship. And they just have a really quiet, wordless kiss. And it's very touching. I'm going to stop doing one more note, but one more thing. Joyce wasn't in this episode. That's rude.
She's off putting on troll masks and stirring up demons.
Yeah, presumably.
I think that when we get to the talk about Tara and Willow, I think you can draw some conversation. And I'd be interested to see how, well, obviously, like goes without saying, we'll be interested to see how new Buffy deals with sexuality and gender. But I'm
guessing it's going to be a too teenagey, to be honest. Go on.
Well, I don't know. But something I was going to say on that was it's interesting that in my other life as a Doctor Who fan, there have been queer characters in Doctor Who, in Torchwood, which was billed as the adult version of Doctor Who, and Class, which is the more recent young adult kind of like genre fiction, and the one that has, for my money, the most genuine portrayal not only of a gay relationship but of gay sex is Class, which is the young adult one, which was really surprising, you know.
Agreed.
So I think it's something to talk about, like with Willow and Tara, about how you can fly. You know, people always say that shows that are aimed at younger demographic are stricter in some senses.
Yeah.
Certain things you can fly under the radar because people are like, oh, they're just watching their monster program.
You know, this brings up a weirdly irrelevant point, but the show that my friend Hildy was working on recently, I was reading about it. It's on CBeebies, and I think, and it seems that, like, you know, the characters in it, it's like a teenagey, not soap opera. It's a teenage drama show. And there are some same-sex parents in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just like it's a CBeebies show, which is the BBC for children. And just, you know, these things fly under the radar these days because people are so worried about looking at the mainstream versions, but also it's reasonably incorporated these days.
Yeah, and it's interesting how it's because it's, you know, one of the often, you know, there are a spread of issues facing queer people that go in different directions.
What?
But then, very good. But then one of the later issues that we encounter is about same-sex parents and the likes there and all that. And yet the representation that we tend to see more and more in the most recent years is generally of parents.
Yeah. One of the nice things actually that you just don't see as a trope anymore is in the late 90s, early 90s, and actually up to mid 90s, there are issues in representation of LGBT characters where the one of a couple will die or will be in a situation where they're hospitalized, and if they have children, they don't inherit the children, or well, I suppose they don't, because the person who has died was the adopting parent or the biological parent, and you couldn't jointly adopt a child. I remember there was an episode of ER about this where one of the characters, her wife dies, and just she can't do anything about it. There's no legal right for her to see her wife as she's dying and all these things, and it's terrifying. There's a thing about it in Queer as Folk US. It's just a thing of LGBT representation that is eradicated. It's just people can't understand that these days, and I think that's great, but it's odd. It's odd to see tropes fade into the mist. But there you go.
Definitely. My two last thoughts for this episode.
Okay.
Do vampires' clothes disappear? Obviously they do. Why is that when they get staked?
Yeah, absolutely.
His claw go as well.
Oh, yeah.
And my other thought was at one point in the episode...
Is it like disapparating if you touch him that you would disappear too?
There's a lot to unpack about dusting.
If he's on top of you and you're wearing clothes and you stake him, do your clothes disappear?
It's like spontaneous combustion. Because I think there definitely are some side gags where people are holding something and they drop it when they dust.
Yeah.
So at what point does it become part of the magic?
I mean, you have to presume it's something to do with organic matter. So I wonder, okay, if you handed someone a carrot and then dusted them, does the carrot disappear?
But what about his claw?
The claw is inorganic. I'm saying inorganic stuff leaves and organic stuff doesn't. As in currently organic.
So you're saying that the carrot will still be there after it gets dusted?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Interesting.
Maybe it's a force field.
Maybe it's a force field. Maybe he's actually getting pulled into a parallel dimension. Who knows?
Maybe he's the Predator.
Let's not get talking about the Predator. We went to see the most recent Predator film recently, and I've seen bad films. This was an unfinished film. This film was edited about 75%, and it's like, fuck it, people go and see it, and they put it out. It was bizarre.
I was surprised when I saw it was 90 to 100 minutes long. I was like, that kind of movie is usually like 120, 130, 140 minutes long. But yeah, they edited a bunch of scenes out of it that made it make sense, or made it good maybe, but it was awful. It was atrocious.
One of the scenes they left in, one of the main plot points of the film, spoilers if you're planning on seeing The Predator, spoiler number 1 is don't. Spoiler number 2 is that autism was the next stage of human evolution. Which, I mean, like, if that's your theory, I understand, but don't put it in the fucking Predator movie. Like, that was the main point of the film. They were hunting someone with autism to extract his powerful DNA. And this is not anything about autism, but that's not the point you want your film to be about. It's so questionable. If you're going to do that, have a good portrayal of autism in your movie, which they didn't. No. But also, I understand if you're saying, like, I love the trope of people with disabilities are superheroes because they have bionic arms and stuff. That's so cool, so empowering. Suggesting that people with autism are the next step in evolution is, I think, ignoring the difficulties that... It's condescending. It's condescending, for sure. I think it's ignoring the difficulties that people with autism face as well. Okay, what was your last point? Was that at one point when something scary happens with a monster? Let's do murder counts. Obviously, Dr. Gregory died. Yep. Unknown man in the basement. Unknown man must have died, yes, necessarily. The Claw died. And I feel like there's no more. She-Mantis. She-Mantis dies. Do we count the vampire in Xander's dream? That's a definitely maybe. So like the Xander did. Sorry, Freudian slip there. The vampire in Xander's dream did die, but he was fictional. But sure, they're all fictional. Yeah. But the last thing was at one point when something scary happens, Buffy kind of turns to herself and says, "Oh boy." And in my head, I was like, here's the crossover with Quantum Leap. Dr. Sam Becker has just jumped into this moment. Is that like a phrase from Quantum Leap? Does he say, oh boy? The kicker is every time he jumps into a new buggy, and they're like, quick Babe Ruth, you're up next, and throws in the bat, he's like, oh boy, and that's how every episode starts. So on our sister podcast, Quantum Queers, we'll talk further about that. Queers Leap. Queers Leap. Oh, I'm torn. Queer Team Leap. Well, it's Tom for one thing. Queer Tom. Oh, okay. Yeah. I give this episode. Oh shit! I forgot I have to do this. 1 second. I have a rating ready. Come on, where are my notes? Okay. Spoiler for the end of Quantum Leap. He never actually makes it home.
Does he not?
It's really sad.
Does it get cancelled or?
No, again, it just says everyone else was happy. Sam Beckett never got home.
Oh, fuck.
It's really sad.
I mean, Sam Beckett never did come home. I'm pretty sure he was buried in France.
This is true. I feel like his middle name of the show is like his Ulysses or something. So it shouldn't matter me. So rating for the episode.
I will give this episode 5.4 model egg sacks out of 10.
Very good. Okay, mine isn't nearly as good. I'm going to say I give this episode a 5.5 claws.
Oh, Joel.
Too obvious?
Lazy. She wears a really disgusting yellow eyeshadow at one point. Do you want that one? Oh, here we go. Brown velour shirts.
If we do a fashion one, it's going to be a fashion thing every time.
No, it doesn't. It can be this one time because it was so bad.
Okay. 5.5 brown velour shirts out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I mean, like, it definitely... There are episodes of Buffy. I mean, I Robot You Jane is going to be getting a 3. You know? I like it. Enjoy it. It's going to be getting a 3. Or so. The Beer Bad certainly is going to be getting a 2 or a 1.
Yeah.
No doubt. The Body is going to be getting a perfect 10.
Well, yeah, what I think is interesting with this is I found out the last episode I was more harsh about because I know the good episodes that are coming. This episode, I'm like, if every episode was like this, I would rate this worse. But I know this is like a funny episode of a good TV show, so I'm more forgiving of it. Yeah.
You know what's a weird context for this is that season 1 has very few episodes compared to the rest of the season, so it has 13 episodes as opposed to 22. Are we rating it on that basis? I mean, like, you know, because as a season it has a much lower quality of episodes. Like, you can't really have misses in a season that is this short. That's what HBO has learned.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm viewing this show on a season by season basis, even though it has such distinct seasonal arcs.
Yeah,
I see Buffy as Buffy the show, the 7 seasons. So that's kind of how I
Fair enough. Fair enough. Even though we haven't seen all 7 seasons.
No.
Joe hasn't watched a couple episodes in season 7.
I had a strong tendency at a certain age, which was
up until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was still a certain age, to like not finish things, in the sense of like I'd leave the last half a season or the last episode. Often
just wouldn't get out of awful relationships.
Yeah. So next up, we're going to be watching Never Kill a Boy on the First Date.
No, we're going to be watching season 2, episode 4.
Oh yeah, that's
how it works. We watch season 1, episode 1, season 2, episode 1, season 3, episode 1, and so on and so forth.
The postmodern approach.
Yeah, of course.
So Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for making it this far. Let us know what you think. We won't do anything about it, but it's always interesting.
You should tweet at us. It will...
Tweet at someone. Doesn't have to be us.
You should tweet at us. I'll have a panic attack. I'll see a tweet from someone out in the wild, because at least one person is going to stumble onto this just by accident, and I'm going to have a panic attack.
So
thank you for the panic attack, Martha.
Hashtag Buffy Boys. It's clearly going to be like a Sinead or an Aisling.
Oh, for sure.
Hashtag Buffy Boys. Hashtag panic attack. And yeah, once again, thanks so much to Alex Heflin for letting us use his great song. And here is another song that we made for the closing credits.
What? Really?
We're going to do the kazoos thing.
Oh, are we?
I kind of want to end it with the crazy kazoos.
See, I'm worried about that because I think people do actually sleep watching or listening to podcasts.
Don't sleep, listen to our podcast. Pay attention. Pay attention to us.
Okay. Boys. Are Buffy. Buffy boys.